Hello, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the conference, our conference today, UCI and Africa, Expanding Engagements, Ongoing Dialogues. We have a number of friends here from our conference almost 4 years ago on critical investigations into humanitarianism in Africa. We also have a number of new friends here and colleagues from different parts of the world, different parts of the African continent. It's my pleasure to welcome you all today. My name is Cecilia Lynch. I'm professor of political science, and I direct the International Studies program here at UCI, and also edit the CIHA blog, Critical Investigations into Humanitarianism in Africa blog. And it's also my pleasure to welcome our Chancellor, Dr. Michael Drake, who will open the conference by telling us about his own vision for how we fit into the broader goals of UCI. Chancellor Drake is a nationally recognized academic and administrator. He became the 5th Chancellor of UCI in 2005. He's led the launch of new programs in public health, pharmaceutical sciences, nursing science, and the creation of a new law school here at UCI. UCI is now ranked first in the U.S. among universities under 50 years old, and I know many of you have been commenting on the beauty of the campus. And we have numerous, a very large increase in applications of, especially in undergraduate applications. I, though, also, in addition to noting the Chancellor's numerous awards, some of them for teaching public service and research, including the Burbridge Award for Public Service, the Asbury Award for Clinical Science, the Michael J. Hogan Award for Laboratory Science, the UC San Francisco School of Medicine Clinical Teaching Award, the S.J. Kimura Teaching Award, the California Wellness Foundation's Champion of Diversity Award, and the inaugural Binational Health Pioneer Award at the 18th International HIV/AIDS Conference. All of these awards speak to the Chancellor's broad acclaim in his own field of medicine and ophthalmology, as well as his work in chairing the California-Mexico Health Initiative, launching a number of global health initiatives within the UC system. And so we're very, very proud to have Chancellor Drake as our leader, and we also are very, very grateful to him for supporting our work and our engagements with the conference, with the continent of Africa, both with the University of Ghana, through the CIHA blog, and in many other initiatives. So please join me in welcoming Chancellor Drake.
Yes, great. Very nice to see everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is and thank you, Cecilia, for the nice introduction and for all the work that you do. Let me hook myself up here. Perfectly done. Very nice to see you. You know, I appreciate the things that Cecilia was saying. It reminds me of the variety of endeavors that we all are engaged in, the different types of work we do in the different parts of our academic work and in our public life outside academics and in our private life. So it's nice to have everyone here to celebrate and look at those things. I was, and you spoke a little bit about my medical career, which I was thinking about this morning. I had so 2 interesting things happened today. I mean, so far. But I had some notes of what I'd like to talk about this morning. I was going to talk a little bit about my medical career. And so it's nice that you mentioned that. And then driving in this morning, just outside this building, there was a bike crash of one person zooming down the street, and then another one sort of crossing the street. And it was a bike versus bike. And one got very much the worst of it. So a young woman flipped up in the air and landed hard and didn't move, actually, for minutes. So I happened to be turning the corner as this was unfolding. You said you nodded. So were you there or did? Yeah. So I guess we were there at about the same time. So I arrived sort of. The first thing I sort of saw was her feet, about this high off the ground, and then falling down like that. But I had the opportunity to think about medical training again this morning, and how that ties in, you know, and it was an interesting connection. And the work that we do in Africa is on many, many levels. That we do work in Africa on political levels, on social levels. We have connections with the arts. My main connection is through my medical training and a couple of groups that I work with. I work with a group a pharmaceutical company that makes AIDS drugs, and they made by the 90s or the mid 90s had the most successful, highly effective antiretroviral treatment available any place in the world. That the drug that everyone would get as sort of the first line treatment here, and they were able to go from the 25 pills a day down to to 1 pill a day, which is just an amazing thing. Let me just ask, when we speak of AIDS, so how many people here have any connection with the AIDS world in one way or another, just a connection? And how many have had that connection? Then just think, roll back in your minds, and ask how long ago you had that connection. So how many were connected with AIDS or the AIDS epidemic or pandemic or the AIDS world in 2000? Or before, I should say, right? Okay, how many connected with it in 1990 or before? So back in the 1980s. How about 1985? So now we're getting back toward the beginning in 1981, 1982. I mean, the name was coined in 1984. So before that time, it was called something else. And I was a consult service physician in San Francisco. I'm an ophthalmologist, but I was doing the consult service, which means you see all the patients in the hospital who have an eye problem in addition to the regular whatever else they're there for. And we began to see around the winter of 81, 82, around this time, so I guess that's 31 years ago, we began to see, that's 30 years, right, yeah, 31 years ago, we began to see young men with a series of opportunistic infections, candida endophthalmitis, cytomegalovirus retinitis, things that we saw very rarely. But they would have these opportunistic intraocular infections, and two other things were true. One is they had other diseases and infections, and that's one thing that was true. The other thing that was true is they all died. And they died quickly. The people with the cytomegalovirus retinitis died in weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks on average. And so we saw one, and then these extremely rare things, and then two, and then more and more. And so we saw certainly that we were at the beginning of something. So I had the opportunity to kind of follow this all the way through. And then through I chaired, when I was in my prior position, I oversaw the University AIDS Research Program, which is located at the Office of the President. So I had a lot of work that we did in AIDS then, and AIDS in Mexico and in California. And throughout all this period, AIDS in Africa was not only a public health issue and a growing public health issue, it was also such a big financial draw and had such an impact on the status of countries that it was, in some cases, an issue of statehood. Could the state, in fact, maintain itself with this incredible draw on its human power, this incredible social nightmare, and the draw on its resources to try to care for these patients? And so the group that I work with is a scientific advisory board. The company has two boards, has a well-heeled board of people who run the company, and then it has a scientific advisory board of people actually from different parts of the world who help with advice on this particular program. And the program is one to provide medication at cost to the company, but at no cost to patients, to people in the developing world. And the biggest number of these patients are now in Africa. And the program now exists in about 82 countries. There's a program in 114 countries, but programs on the ground in about 82 countries around the world, where the drugs are provided for cost to the program for as low as about $10, $12, $13 a month, which is quite a bit less than the drugs here, the same drugs as available here, manufactured either by partners or through generics and a license, so they come out for no cost to the patients. And we've seen the program grow from 2008, when I first became a part of it. 30,000 people a day were receiving this particular drug at no cost to the patients. As of last summer, it was 1.4 million people a day who were receiving drug, and so it actually is beginning to make an impact. And so because of that, we're really connected a lot with the health status of people in Africa, and thinking now about being able to, in many ways, stem the rise of the AIDS epidemic, but thinking about the social and other things that have to happen to try to keep new infections from happening, thinking about treatment as prevention and other things that are interesting and controversial, and then thinking about chronic disease, which is now accounting for about half the deaths in the developing world, which didn't used to be the case before. It used to be infectious disease and childhood diarrhea, things of that nature, malaria. Those deaths have been coming down a bit, but as those deaths come down, chronic disease rises, and you have cancer and heart disease and other things that happen as people live longer. So it's been interesting to, from a medical point of view, look at the changes that have happened in Africa during these last 20 or 30 years. Another thing that I wanted to say about Africa is I have in my office, I have a map of the world. Who's been in my office here? Some people have been in my office, I think. So I have a map, and usually when people in the office, they've been in trouble. So it's a go to the principal's office and I apologize for what we're doing to you and to how much we know. But there's a map on the wall, and it's a map that we saw. My wife actually got for me nicely. A map that has it's a flat presentation, but it has south on the top and north on the bottom. So one way of describing it is you would say that it was upside down, but I like to say it's really south at the top, and it's only upside down if you feel the way you've been looking at something is the natural way it's supposed to be. So at least this one has a south at the top, and the prime meridian is down the center, and and so when you do that, right in the middle of the map, sort of right where you look, is Africa. And you can look at the map, and when you're in the office next time, take a look. And there are a couple things that really show well. One, the sort of geological Pangea, you can see how the continent was one and is drifting apart, because the Horn of Africa sort of fits perfectly in the Caribbean if you would put them together. But you can actually separate them apart by the Atlantic Ocean. You see that the continents are drifting. It's actually almost, it's an amazing thing to look at. Another that I find, though, when I look at it, is the concept that you can sort of see how human civilization started in Africa and then migrated down and around the Mediterranean, along the northern part of the Indian Ocean, across the land bridge to New Zealand, around the edge up and over to North America. And you almost can see by gravity, and then to I've left Europe aside, but kind of around that way and then down into Europe almost by flow. And it's interesting to see how the countries have arranged themselves that way. So Africa's centrality in humanity is something that is really, really clear. About 2 months ago, we had a wonderful visit from Jane Goodall, who was here in this building, and some of you saw that. And Jane Goodall talked about the draw that Africa had to her as she was a child in the 1930s. And she talked about her work, and among the things that she's best known for, as she was just a high school student when she went to Africa and got educated when she was there. Actually went back and got a PhD at Oxford without ever having a BA. So she went from high school student to Oxford and got a PhD. She had a powerful mentor. I'll just say that. Yeah, he said, let's skip college. But one of the things that she found there, and we all know this work, she was the one who observed the chimps stripping leaves off a branch and then sticking the branch in an anthill to pull out, or a termite mound to pull out the termites. So essentially fishing for dinner, and taking the branch, breaking it off, and stripping the leaves off required kind of planning future thought to make an implement to do something you were going to do, which was, at the time that she witnessed this, one of the descriptions of what it meant to be human. In the anthropologic description of human and non-human, one thing that humans did that animals did not do is that humans made tools and used them for a future purpose. They were able to plan something, make a tool, and use it for that purpose. And the chimp was able to tear the leaves off and go fishing for dinner. And so that really changed our lines. And so that's another interesting sort of connection. Third thing, and something that I'd written to talk about that was quite, that I put on my notes today and reminded me of the medical thing I said at the beginning, was that in the beginning of my college career, took classes and was interested in Africa. I have 2 undergraduate degrees. One is in African and African American studies. And as a part of that, I took a class and I met a young woman in the class who I thought, was an attractive young woman. and ended up marrying her and having a long life. That's nice. This morning, she said, "Oh, I got something. We were just in San Francisco last night, where we still have an old house." And she said, "Oh, I brought something down from the house." And I said, "What?" And actually, it's here, and it's a book that she had purchased. And I didn't know she was doing this. She didn't know I was speaking here today. A book she'd purchased when she was a freshman, called "Weep Not, Child" by James Ngugi, who we're honoring here today. And this is back when his name was James. And he could, to prove its authenticity, it says $1.25. So I will show that. And the pages are authentically yellowed. So she's had this now for since 1969. So what is that? That's 43 years. So for a long, long time. And for whatever reason, it's moved in all the different boxes and wherever we've gone, and was sitting there. And she decided actually to bring it down today. And I just noticed it on the counter in the kitchen this morning, and was so pleased that we were honoring Ngugi for all that he's done to sort of bring consciousness of Africa to broader audiences around the world, and then the further work that he's done since he's been here on the campus. So let me say that for the work that you all do in the various aspects at which you address Africa, from the health side to the arts, to the culture, to the history, to the geology, to the centrality in human life that occurs with human beings actually begin our journey forward in Africa. It's really great to have a chance to bring everyone together. And Cecilia said it was 4 years nearly since the last meeting. I would have thought 2 perhaps, so it's been an amazing time. But it's great for all of you to come together and have a chance to share some of the things that you've done. And I'm thinking of the nice things that came out of the last time we had this gathering, that people met and encouraged each other to go on and form projects together. And I look forward to a similar outcome from today's deliberations. Very, very nice to see all of you here today. Congratulations on organizing such a great event. Welcome to UC Irvine, and have a great day. Thank you.